Silk. Silk is a fine, strong, soft and shining fibre obtained from silkworms. It is separated from the cocoons of silkworms. Silk is the strongest natural fibre. The soft-looking silk yarn is as strong as a comparable thread of steel. Silk fibres are converted into silk yarn, which is used for making silk cloth. This silk cloth is then used for making saris and other dresses. The rearing of silkworms for obtaining silk is called sericulture. Before we discuss the process of obtaining silk, let us study the interesting life history of the silk moth. The female silk moth lays pale yellow eggs on the leaves of a tree. After a few days, the fertile live eggs turn grey. The eggs hatch in 2 weeks' time to form worm-like larvae. The larvae of silk moth are called caterpillar or silkworms. The silkworms fed on the leaves of mulberry tree and grow bigger in size. During the larval stage, the silkworms shed their skin 4 times while they grow. Silk is formed in liquid form in the 2 glands in the silkworm's head. When the silkworm is ready to enter the next stage of its development called pupa, each silkworm begins spinning a cocoon by moving its head in a figure 8 pattern. During these movements of head, the silkworm secretes silk in liquid form through the tiny opening in its head. Liquid silk is coated in sericin, a water-soluble protective gum, and solidifies on contact with the air and becomes silk fibre within 2 to 3 days. The silkworm covers itself completely by silk fibre. The silky covering spun by the silkworm for its protection is called cocoon. The cocoon is made by silkworm to protect its development as pupa. When the pupa encased in cocoon develops fully to form an adult silk moth, then the cocoon splits up and a beautiful silk moth comes out. Adult silk moth lives only for a few days and is unable to fly. In this way, the life history of silkworm is complete. Varieties of natural silk. The silk yarn thread is obtained from the cocoon of the silk moth. There is a variety of silk moths which look very different from one another, and the silk yarn thread they yield is different in texture, coarse, smooth, shiny, etc. Mulberry silk moth is the most common silk moth. The bulk of the world's silk supply comes from the mulberry silk moth. The silk fibre from the cocoon of this moth is soft, lustrous and elastic, and can be dyed in beautiful colors. Tusser silkworms mainly feed on urchin leaves to produce a tusser silk. Airy silkworms feed on castor leaves to produce a brick red silk called airy silk. Muga silkworms feed on som leaves to produce a lustrous golden yellow muga silk. Muga silkworms are found only in Assam and nowhere else in the world. From cocoon to silk. For obtaining silk, moths are reared and their cocoons are collected to get silk threads. Rearing silkworms. Rearing of silkworms means to look after the silkworms by providing them proper feed, food and shelter. In a silk farm, female silk moths are kept in separate linen bags, which are carefully disinfected. Each female silk moth lays 200 to 500 eggs at a time. The eggs are kept in perforated cardboard boxes or on bamboo trays under hygienic conditions and under suitable conditions of temperature and humidity. The eggs are warmed to a suitable temperature in an incubator for the larvae to hatch from eggs. A perforated sheet of paper is placed over the hatching box and chopped mulberry leaves are spread over it. When the larvae, the silkworms, hatch out of the eggs, they feed on mulberry leaves. They eat day and night and increase enormously in size. After 25 to 30 days, the silkworms stop eating and move to a tiny chamber of bamboo in the tray to spin cocoons. Small racks or twigs may be provided in the trays to which cocoons get attached. The silkworm completes its cocoon, which is about 4 centimeters long, in about 5 days by producing 600 to 1200 meters of thin silk fibre. During the period of spinning its cocoon, a silkworm is transformed into pupa. So, the cocoons are first boiled in hot water or treated in ovens to kill the pupa inside. If the larvae are not killed and allowed to grow, they will break the cocoon, thereby reducing the length of silk fibre. The hot water softens the silk gum sericin so as to allow the unwinding of silk fibre as one continuous thread. The process of taking out threads from the cocoon for use as silk is called reeling the silk. Reeling is done in special machines which unwind the fibres of silk from the cocoon. The fibre of the cocoon is too fine and delicate to handle. So many of them, 3 to 10 fine filaments, are reeled together to yield a stronger thread called raw silk. The damaged or waste cocoons are used to produce an inferior quality silk called spun silk. The raw silk prepared is twisted to produce thrown silk. The process is called throwing. This prevents the silk from splitting into individual fibers. Thrown silk is dyed for making colored fabric. The dyed silk fibers spun into silk threads are now woven into silk cloth by weavers. So, let us summarize the whole process of obtaining silk from silk moth.